shoot this one straight from the hip, just like I did the last one on the Rittenhouse. It's been a very long time since black society has had let's just say such a high profile case that was clearly based on racism, but could not be tried as such due to the current racial tensions that are going on in this country. I'm very happy to see the expected outcome has happened, one that should have happened. While most people argue that in Kyle's case there was quote unquote no self-defense, it was murder, he went out of his way to do certain actions. You could also compare it to this case in Ahmaud Arbery, where Ahmaud was clearly a victim, and anything that this young man did could be considered self-defense, especially whenever you have someone chasing you, coming at you to do bodily harm with the intent to hurt or kill. That's what these two, let's just say 3 idiots did. And in a sense, they basically took Ahmaud and just made a snuff film out of his last few minutes on this earth. Anytime someone gathers up arms against an unarmed person, no matter what the color is, it's blatantly obvious that they have the intent to kill this person. Period. Good people don't have to worry about that, because good people aren't going to go looking to kill someone. But people that think that they are above the law, that think they have the right to quote unquote protect their neighborhood and the power to do so, even if that power ends up with them taking somebody's life, that's when we have problems. Long time ago, whenever we had issues in the neighborhood, we used to be able to go door to door and talk with each other and try and come to a conclusion. When we had a neighborhood watch, we knew who exactly was in the neighborhood, and we knew who exactly to watch out for. It doesn't matter if someone had their house broken into previously by a quote unquote person of color, or as I just blatantly call it, a black person. But that's just my choice. I choose not to use the term person of color because it blankets everybody, and it takes away accountability and hands out awards to everybody. So I'll just call it like I see it. If your neighborhood was broken into by a black person, that does not blanket the entire black society. But lo and behold, here we are. We've got some segregationist mindsets in 2021 still. Sad to say that nothing is going to make that change anytime soon. I don't care if the landscape is moving towards a better tomorrow or not. This is something that we cannot build over, but we must attack directly and come to grips with the fact that racism is still out there, racism is still alive. And if you don't believe me, then answer me this. Why is this young man dead? I know my last episode, I straightforward put all the accountability on the mother as far as the Rittenhouse trial. In Ahmaud's case, what could one say? It's real easy to say that he was a young man in the wrong place at the wrong time, or the young man that had no business being in a situation that he put himself in, but nonetheless, he was in a construction site. True, nobody knows what he's doing there, but he was in a construction site, minding his own business, not bothering anybody, not wasting precious time by trying to scope out an area as far as where to rob it, so on and so forth. He was living his life doing what he could without being hindered by racism, until lo and behold, these 3 idiots show up and decide to take the law into their own hands. And not only that, they chased the young man around his truck. They chased the young man around the truck that they showed up in. Ahmaud had no defense against this. And what happened, I think any logical human being would do the same thing. We work on fight or flight mechanics, and whenever the flight doesn't work, we have to fight. I just find it interesting that one of the people that went on the stands, I think it was a younger man, I can't remember his name, but nonetheless, he's still idiot number one, idiot number two, and idiot number three to me. The man went on the stand and said he could not recollect whether or not Ahmaud had grabbed a gun, which means that basically what I did follow on this case, it just seems that they had no real excuse as to why they did what they did, why they felt it was right, why it was a good idea to become a quote-unquote vigilante. In a sense, this does compare to the Zimmerman case, but the biggest difference is the fact that the Zimmerman case didn't clearly make it about race. They tried to skirt that and go into the right and wrong category, which is one of the reasons why Zimmerman got off, despite the fact of his history and the power of his parent. But I sincerely hope that the victory that was garnered in this case will just help other cases like this in Black society. There was also another case that recently happened where it was another couple. I think it was a no-knock warrant, or maybe the police did actually knock on the door, but regardless, they rolled in with guns blazing pretty much. I do believe that they did fire back because they heard shots fired from the room, but nonetheless, when they fired back, it killed the defendant's girlfriend. That defendant was able to clear his name due to the fact that they viewed him as not guilty. Everyone has a right to protect their castle. Everybody has a right to, protect their domicile. But regardless, we as logical functioning human beings have a right to protect ourselves. No matter if we are stuck in a rally with the intent, despite the fact that we shouldn't be there, but with the intent to try and apply first aid and medical solutions to people who may look or not look like me, or the person that should be up there. Or we're just in an area that has nothing to do with anything that has happened in the past couple of years regarding racial tensions. We're just in a general neighborhood, walking by. Ahmaud loved to jog, so maybe he was jogging by. Maybe he decided to go off the beaten path. A black man finding a new route to just jog, so he doesn't have to deal with or see the same things in his life over and over and over again, especially if he's coming from a rough neighborhood. But nonetheless, the trail he decided to take ended up being where his last footsteps were placed. This was a racially motivated incident. And no matter what side you're on, as far as where you stand with BLM or Black Lives Matter or whatever, where you stand with the NFAC, where you stand with any other black organizational group, grassroots, one that's been there, NAACP, whatever. Clearly you can see that racism is still alive and well in 2021. It's never died. We've seen it over the years. But with this case, like I said, I sincerely hope that it changes the landscape. I sincerely hope that it's a step forward in a direction as far as getting black convicts who were blamed for a crime to actually be treated like men versus the content of their skin, not their character. But I don't know. It's still way too early to tell. But regardless, this does change the landscape as far as we as black people needing to protect ourselves. I always say it's nice to pray about it, but sometimes you're going to have to be about it. We cannot have prayer without action. You cannot live in this world and think that things will work themselves out without action. The way things are nowadays, you can't assume that. You always have to put yourself in the best advantage that you can whenever you're in a situation that you're not familiar with. Or as the phrase goes, walk softly and carry a big stick. The death of this young man did not have to happen. And even though it's a victory, it's still a loss because we've lost another black life. One that people thought was not worth anything other than just a thrill, a cheap thrill to record. So while I'm happy with the outcome of this case, especially seeing as how all three men, some varying on the guilty spectrum, but nonetheless all three guilty, I'm happy to see that there was some form of justice done. Versus another situation where we've allowed a small conglomerate of Zimmermans loose. But hey, still got 1 month left in 2020. We'll see how it ends. Hopefully it'll end for the better. With all these different strands and variants coming out, I mean, hey, we've all got to focus on coming together and make this work anyway. But I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm just a hopeless dreamer who wants to see the best of the world happen. But I digress. It's a small victory, but it's still a victory. It doesn't change anything in the long run. We still have a long ways to go. But nonetheless, I'll take a win wherever there's one at. Till next time, this has been another Mag Dump.